Shots across the bow on the edge of a potential trade war with the U.S. as incoming American President Donald Trump threatens to slap 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. Some of Canada's premiers are responding with fighting words, like Ontario's Doug Ford, who's threatening to cut off Ontario energy to the 1.5 million Americans who rely on it to power their homes.
We're sending a message to the U.S. You come and attack Ontario, you attack livelihoods of people of Ontario and Canadians. We're going to use every tool in our toolbox to defend Ontarians and Canadians across the border.
Donald Trump fired right back.
That's okay if he does that, that's fine. But the United States is subsidizing Canada. It's truly a subsidy, and we shouldn't have to do that.
He wasn't clear, but it seems like that's a reference to the American trade deficit with Canada, which was about $90 billion last year. Canada supplies about 85% of U.S. electricity imports, plus more oil than any other country. Although the premiers are divided on how to best handle Trump's threat, many are helping to create a list of possible retaliatory trade measures, including the newly elected Premier of New Brunswick. Premier Susan Holt joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us, Premier, and congratulations. First chance we've had a chance to speak to you since you've been elected.
Thanks very much, Mercedes.
What a time to become a brand new premier and be facing this scenario with President-elect Trump to the south. 92% of New Brunswick's exports go to the United States. A lot on the table here for you. You've said that you're ready to play hardball and to hit them where it hurts when it comes back to Donald Trump. What kind of retaliation are you looking at, and what kind of message do you want to send to Donald Trump?
There's a two-front approach here. We think that these tariffs are going to be really damaging to the U.S. economy. And I shouldn't say we think, we know that these tariffs are going to hurt Americans, American jobs, American homes. And so I don't think that that's what Donald Trump wants. And we're going to make that case to him, as we have been to his governors and senators and to the business leaders in the U.S. who share our concerns about the damage that this is going to do to the American economy, as well as the New Brunswick and the Canadian economy. So we're going to be making that case, but we're preparing for the worst.
What exactly is on the table?
Well, right now, everything is on the table because we're doing our analysis to figure out what could we retaliate with that would have the least impact to New Brunswickers, but the most impact to the U.S. and particularly to those places that the Trump administration is most sensitive to. So we're looking at all of the different things that we import in from the U.S. as well as the critical things that we send to them to prepare a strong retaliatory strategy that we will have ready in case, and we hope we won't have to use it.
And obviously there's a difference between retaliatory tariffs, which would be tariffing things coming in, versus cutting off the supplies. I just want to be clear there. Are you only looking at retaliatory tariffs, or are you also looking at something similar to what Doug Ford has said, which would be cutting off, for example, New Brunswick energy going to the U.S.?
Yeah, well, we don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face. There would be significant trouble caused to New Brunswickers if we stopped selling products into the U.S. The tariffs that Trump has suggested are already going to make that more challenging. But cutting off our largest customer means that we're going to be looking for a new place to send 320,000 barrels of petroleum products a day. I think that that's not an approach that's going to work well for our province. And so we're looking at a different approach.
You met with the Prime Minister last week to talk about this. Are you confident in Ottawa's plan and perhaps more importantly, their ability to deliver it quickly, considering how soon these tariffs are scheduled to hit?
I think Ottawa has responded in a really serious way and put together a $1 billion defense package to strengthen our borders that I think is pretty comprehensive. And certainly it won't come as a surprise to any of your viewers to know that I have a lot of confidence in Minister LeBlanc and his ability to charm and persuade folks to the outcome that we want. And him alongside Minister Freeland and the Prime Minister, I think, are using a lot of the tools that we need to get this done. So we're supportive of the comprehensive defense and border plan that they've put together. We're looking to get into the next level of detail because we're looking for some of that investment to come to New Brunswick, and particularly to our largest port, the Port of St. John, that has a been seeing a lot of growth over the last couple years, and there's more and more containers coming through every day. And so our current CBSA installation is starting to feel it and needs to grow in response to all of those containers that by and large come into the Port of St. John, hop on the CPKC rail line and head into the US. So we're looking forward to participating and getting the benefit of a strong strategy that the federal government's put together.
Do you feel that there's sufficient security at the Canadian border and sufficient security in the Port of St. John right now, examining all of those containers that are coming in and going to the U.S. to know what's actually in them?
I think there's an opportunity for improvement because of the growth we've seen. We've seen such significant growth in the Port of St. John in particular that it is the right time to grow the CBSA resources alongside it. I think the border that we share with Maine, where there are 17 different ports of entry, there have been improvements and fortifications made across that border over the years. We actually just have a new bridge up in Edmundston and some state-of-the-art facilities up there. And so we're always watching to learn how are unwanted goods and unwanted people crossing the border in both directions, and what new approaches and new technologies and investments can we make to continue to have the kind of strong, peaceful, and secure border that we have long shared with Maine, and make sure that extends to our really active and growing port.
You mentioned Dominic LeBlanc, of course, a very prominent New Brunswicker, was at the table with the Prime Minister and Donald Trump down in Mar-a-Lago. I always kind of think of him as like the schmoozer in chief for the government. He's the guy who can have the scotch and cigars. He's also the public safety minister. But that comes to how you talk to and deal with Donald Trump. Have you talked to Minister LeBlanc at all about this approach and when to be tough with Donald Trump versus when some say you have to go and kiss the ring?
We have had these conversations, and look, Dominic LeBlanc is a master negotiator, and he is a great person to have in the room for any of those tough conversations, because he can go both ways, right? We need to show the U.S. that we're a strong partner with a heavily integrated economy, but that we're not going to be pushed around. And if I think there's lots of opportunity for us to get to a place where these tariffs don't come into place, but we're absolutely ready to react should they be. And Dominic can walk both of those lines and make sure it's clear the impact that this will have on the other side, while working on the deals and the solutions that will prevent the tariffs from being put in place.
Premier Holt, thank you so much for making time for us today.
It was my pleasure. Thanks, Mercedes.